Hi, I want to talk today about leadership. You probably noticed a recurrent thread lately in my posts and in my videos that I even said it the other day, I'm fully down the rabbit hole of leadership and the implications of psychological understanding. I'm not just meaning well-being, although that is part of it. Psychological understanding and the just incredible ramifications of having a leadership workforce who are aware, conscious, and skilled in what the psychological self is, what the authentic self is, and how to respect the sanctity of the psychological self within them, within the young people in their schools or their institutions, and within the other people all around us. And what I want to do is, because I've been hinting at it, and it's been in production the last couple of weeks. I do have now my 12-week program, and it's not quite launched, but I wanted to give you a kind of sneak peek. So I'm actually going to share the screen and disappear up into the corner. I can't even tell you how excited I am about this, because this is going to change the world. It's incredible. So I'm calling it Soulful Leadership because these days of management leadership, they're gone. We all know they're gone, but we don't have anything to replace them with, and that's the trouble. We know anybody who works in schools or charities or with young offenders, it's so easy to know where it's not working. But also that's quite disempowering to know, oh, it's not working, or the kids are consistently behaving like this. Oh, I feel like the children are turning into data and I don't know how to ameliorate this while still achieving the goals for the school. We want to respect children, but at the end of the day, schools run on data. We need data. There is a place for data. There is a place for accountability. We can't show up in young people's lives if we're not going to get them where they need to be. However, do we get them where they need to be by management? I don't think there's anybody who believes that anymore. By management and taking their autonomy and saying, you must do this, you must do that, you must do this now, you must do that now. And the same for our middle leaders and our senior leaders. Anyone who was ever, I imagine at the start, well, I hope only at the start of their career, but we've all been in workplaces. Anybody who has ever tried managing people by doling out a list of to-dos and expecting them back by a certain date, expecting lesson plans uploaded by a Sunday evening. I've also done that, and it was incredibly disempowering, especially I was working with a teacher, who'd been doing it for, I think, 23 years, and she was still expected to hand in a bullet-pointed A4 in-depth lesson plan for every single lesson she delivered. And what does that say? It says, I manage you, I'm in charge of your classroom, not you, even though you're in it, and I am watching you all the time, not in the supportive, I'm always here for you, I want to know what's going on in my school, we're all part of a team, in the I'm watching you way. And it says, I don't trust you unless I see exactly what you put out. Like I said, these days are gone. We don't know what else there is. I think this is it. Excuse me a second. This is me learning to listen to my body. It makes me more effective. So here's the after. This is me. So it's a 12-week program. It involves, here's the structure, 1 hour presentation. I mean, if you're in Vietnam, I will come to your school. And I'm a teacher by trade. This is what I love. So it's an hour presentation where I explain the learning. So there is learning and there is reflection, and there is a time for discussion and reflective discourse as we move on. There is also learning. So it's a 1 hour presentation, or the other possibility, because we're all international, so many of us aren't meeting up, or we're trying to not have us all in the same room. a 1 hour Zoom call where, you know, everybody comes in and I deliver the content. And within that, each person who comes on the course, well, on the program, will have a 30-minute call. So it's a check-in, or again, if I can come to your school, if you are in Ho Chi Minh City, I'll come and visit you, and, you know, we'll just do them one after the other. So every individual gets half an hour with me to reflect, to talk with the questions or support if some of the content, certainly in the middle bit, in the pillar 2, the psychological skill set, some of that is, it might well be triggering, because we don't know. This is the point, really. We don't know what our employees come to us with in their childhoods, in their early formative youth. We don't know what experiences they've had. This is why this work is so important, because we cannot expect everybody to move forward in the same way, with the same degree of empathy and support for the children in their care, for the young people, for the burgeoning adults. You know, I'm thinking sixth form, they're almost adult. We can't manage them. And also with the people around them, if they are not whole. When I mean whole, I mean psychologically whole. I mean safe. I mean they have a strong foundation. So the program is split into 3 pillars. They are not equal. There's 3 weeks for here's pillar 1, the foundation setting. Obviously, there's a sandcastle there, because there is no point in doing a whole load of psychological skills work if you're not having a solid foundation, because it will just fritter away. So we talk about, you know, the foundation, you as safety in your body, you as an individual, your school that you have chosen to work for, because that school will have had a vision, and that school vision will have chimed with you and your personal vision. Whether you are aware of it or not, you were drawn to apply to that school. Why? So we think about this. We talk as well about authenticity in yourself. So it ties in actually with the subconscious. So we also do learning about the subconscious, what it is. This is psychological upskilling. This is CPD. You're learning a new skill, new facts. So here we have the authentic self. I talk about this all the time because it is so important. So much of society, children, adults, we are all so divorced from our authentic selves that we can't take aligned action which will change the world, because we don't know who we are and we were never taught to find who we are. This is what this program does. So we have our authentic self, and we have all the layers of social conditioning around it. So we have, you know, don't do this, you don't pull the cat's tail, you don't hurt your brother when they steal your toys, you don't talk out of turn, you finish everything on your plate. All of these messages that we get as children. What you did there is socially unacceptable, teenage self. And we learn partly this is being a social animal. This is being, well, it's being human. This is the human condition, that we are social animals. We learn from people around us. That's not the same as the subconscious conditioning of learning there is never enough. These are the things. If you grow up knowing there is never enough, your subconscious takes on this experience of there's not enough, and then you act on that premise, whether you're aware of it or not. You act on that premise, and that is how you show up in the world. If you grow up in chaos, your subconscious learns chaos is safe. Chaos is what my childhood was rooted in. You will not be a consistent leader, because you can't be a consistent leader if you are not whole. So we talk about that. And the second pillar is the biggie. It's the psychological skill set. It's the core. I mean, I've called it the core. It's the skills that facilitate soulful leadership practices. Soulful leadership practices are listening to others, leading from a vision, being authentic, being consistent, being there, showing up to the best of your ability, knowing that meetings that you are in, this does come to trust with your senior leadership, knowing that no meeting should ever have been an email. Oh, wow. So if you trust in your leadership, that your SLT, your senior leaders aren't going to waste your time, then you start to see this as being a soulful leader. Every meeting that you have is an opportunity for you to use your voice to empower yourself and to empower others. This is beyond exciting. What would your leaders achieve if they walked into every meeting like that? Not bitching about whether there was tea or coffee or biscuits. Take biscuits, by the way. It's a prerequisite to a successful meeting. But you know, if they're not going in going like, oh, there's another meeting, oh, there's another thing that we have to do as a whole school-wide policy, oh, more data rounds. If they are seeing everything as, yes, opportunity to further our vision, only whole people can do that. Only people who feel the fire of their vision do that. These skills in the core are what makes people whole. So you are in the core, in the second pillar of this program, Step into Soulful Leadership, you are giving your staff, your emergent leaders, or even, I mean, I would argue that quite a lot of senior leaders would benefit from this, because if we could give this to every human on the planet, it would be incredible. This is a time when you do two things in one go. One, you invest in your staff. This is well-being. This is corporate well-being, because through doing these reflections and these exercises, through talking about things like what is codependency, what is autonomy, where does cultural relativity and absolutes of actually, no, I am always going to use my voice to protect people who I worry about with the safeguarding issue. I am always going to speak up for the people in, I mean, I'm thinking of international schools. I'm in Vietnam right now. I'm a Brit. My husband teaches in an international school. We have this funny position, as especially when you're an expat, of I don't want to tread on the toes of the culture that I'm in. However, your leaders could be from all kinds of different countries. They will have grown up in all kinds of different cultures. They will have had all kinds of individual messages that their parents, their aunts and uncles, their wider family and society where they grew up in their own unique experience of life makes them potentially inconsistent. And you as a school and your leaders as individuals need to have a discussion. What is my absolute here? What will I accept, and when will I use my voice? When does cultural relativity end, and when do I have, okay, no, I'm worried about this person, or okay, no, I'm uncomfortable about this, I'm going to take it further. We talk about codependency. I've actually done a whole video on codependency. It's got a chameleon in the thumbnail picture. It's on my profile, and it's also on the YouTube channel, which is the After YouTube channel. And it takes 45 minutes to explain. But effectively, codependency is when we are not secure in ourselves enough to use our voices, and we are insecure because of our formative experiences, and thus unable to make decisions that will result in other people judging us or a perceived rejection. Now, this is well-being. Being free of codependency and being able to identify codependency in yourself, it's pure and simple well-being. And the more you read about it and the more you learn about it, and of course your staff on this course, on this program, will be learning about it, thinking, oh, this is a bit uncomfortable. When we realize that we have been swept along in our decision-making processes, in our ways of interacting with other people, because of codependent, it's a maladaptive behavior. It's a maladaptive way of interacting with other human beings. And it comes from fear, rejection, and fear of abandonment. If your colleagues have experienced this in their childhoods and their formative youth, it is likely that they harbor codependent methods of interacting with others. Why does this matter? One, it matters because you care about your staff. Two, whole people achieve more. I can't say this enough. Whole people achieve more. And you know what? Your staff, if you're watching this, you already understand this. Your staff are ends in themselves. They're not means to children who are means to data. Nobody who works in education believes that. Although sometimes we do get lost because we have so much stuff piled on our shoulders. I mean, I taught in year 6. Pick up the year 6 teachers. Year 6, we have this really difficult tightrope line, and I imagine it's the same in things like year 11 and year 13, any exam years, whatever, exams or IB, whatever you take. We have this point where we have to look after the children, but we also have data pressures. And if you are codependent, you are going to go into a meeting and you are going to say whatever you think the person in front of you wants to hear, because codependents are unable to voice their own opinion. Quite often they don't even know their authentic self. This is where becoming whole and reprogramming comes in. So they're unable to actually know what they need to say. They are unable to voice the conclusion that they have come to because they are intelligent human beings. If they weren't, you wouldn't have elevated them into leadership. But things like codependency and barriers to self-determinism are holding them back. So you get inconsistent leaders, and they're not inconsistent because they're rubbish leaders. They're inconsistent because they have a psychological block through no fault of their own. You invest in the healing of your staff, you eliminate this. Boom, your team is turbo powered. It's just incredible. And furthermore, through doing this core, this 6 weeks, your leaders are more able to identify this when they see it in other people. Oh, I think something's going on with that person. I might just make a note to check in with them. This is leadership. And they also know how to interact with the children and the young people and their team members and the adult team members, so that they don't enforce codependency, so that they give people the space to make unpopular decisions. We need help to do this. So the final pillar, because I'm aware, of timings, the final pillar is aligned action. So it's the future planning. So we have 3 weeks foundation, 6 weeks in the middle, and then the future planning, because, you need to be able to move forward. And these are skills that you can take forward with you. So we talk about elevating and how a good leader elevates those around them. We talk about, what does that mean? Is that the same as management? Is that the same as telling them what to do? Spoiler alert, no. Spoiler alert, it's all of the things that came in the preceding 6 weeks that your team are now skilled up with. Your team are now trauma informed. So they understand that people act inconsistently because they have some form of trauma, capital T, lowercase t. It really doesn't matter. It's all worthy of support. They understand that if they, as leaders, can use their skills, and I'm not talking about delivering these kind of sessions, I'm just talking about the way that they interact with people, the way that they elevate people through their speech, the language that they use, through the respect that they give their team members and the young people around them. If they do that, everybody around them will elevate. The children, when we set these high standards, children meet them if we enable them. And we can, by the way we interact with them. It's exactly the same with adults. Permission to speak. We do some really, really powerful work on finding your voice. So now we have been through being whole, the middle 6 weeks, once you've gone through that, and your staff or yourself, because a lot of us would benefit from this, once we've come through and we have become, no 6-week program is going to make you whole. But what it will do is start you on the journey to self-healing. And what it does do as well, because of the way I teach it, is it builds in ongoing practices and tools that people can use to take forward. And it helps us to, now that we are whole, now that we know our authentic selves, and we've peeled away these levels of conditioning and the limiting beliefs, and we've flipped the script from I am not enough, I am not worthy of love, to, oh, I now understand that in the situation that I grew up in, there wasn't enough but I don't live in that situation now. These are the amazing freeing of limiting beliefs. We do a whole workshop on permission to speak, finding your voice, how to use your voice respectfully. Michelle Obama is in there. Do not sit at the table unless you are willing to use your voice. Elevate yourself, leaders. You chose to sit at the table because you have a vision and you know that you can change the world. The small world of the student, the small worlds of your team, the wider world of your school, the entire world. There is no limit. People in international schools know this. This is why we do it. It's about the global stage. So we talk about freeing your voice and empowering your staff to sit at the table and to take that responsibility and their competency seriously and to speak up and further, which, you know, in the end of the day, furthers their vision, it furthers your vision as a school. We also set goals, which are, I call them soul goals because it's not the same as, you know, a SMART goal, blah, 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 blah. We do this. Well, they are SMART goals, but it, you know, it's not the same as a mechanical goal. This is management. We're talking about soul leadership. What impact do you, with your newfound security, your new foundation, your new vision and the fire in your belly, what do you want to do with it? And how are you going to reverse engineer your life, your circumstances, your practice at work, in the classroom, in the meeting room, in the school? How are you going to make it happen? And, you know, of course, we talk about long term, so the 90-day goals and the long term. And then your leaders take over the world. And your school is, well, turbocharged. So I'm going to stop the share from that. That is a rundown. That is the short rundown, would you believe it, of all of the main points that make up the Step into Soulful Leadership program. There is so much more. If you are wanting to book a call, if you're interested, if you're seeing that fire, certainly that I've got, and if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want this for my team, I think we could do some amazing stuff, you just send me a message. I'll put all the links in the blurb for this. I just want to show you this very, very quickly. Just seeing along the top of my bar on the internet, you've got my Twinkle, number stacks, Duolingo, the life of an educator, hey. So this program, it draws on principles of psychology. We have leadership principles. We have sociological principles. We have this so much. I mean, I'm not going to share it with you right now because it's just going to be a list of papers. So much academic research and learning has gone into this. This is not made up. This is psychology, sociology, and leadership principles. This is about authenticity, you supporting your leaders in finding their authentic selves. That's only going to lead to positives. This is you. I'm talking to the commissioners here. I'm talking to the senior leaders. I'm talking to head teachers. I'm talking to executive directors. This is you being able to say, I invest in the well-being of my staff. This is not we're putting on a one day of, you know, a free yoga session. This is meaningful, although that is meaningful, but it's meaningful when we do it regularly, habitually, when you build in well-being. You want your teachers to stay in an international school and not flip-flop between different places every 2 years? Invest in them. I mean, I know there's always going to be high turnover because as international types, I mean, even in, you know, in the UK and in America, I know people change jobs a lot, but whole people achieve more. When you are somewhere where you are respected and empowered and you know that you are making a difference, when it comes to the 2-year contract renewal, you're going to be thinking, I'm not done here. I'm on the verge of something else. This might be the difference between 2 years that you get out of a member of staff and 5 years where they stay with you to see a longer term project. This could be incredible. We talk about consent in our relationships. And this is a huge thing, especially if you are working in a secondary school, about how the way that we talk about general consent, it leads into PSHE. It impacts everything. Limited liability. Does it all have to be on my shoulders? No, you can delegate. You can share the load with other people. Yes, you need to be autonomous within your job. Yes, you are accountable for your results and the results of your team, middle, senior leaders. But do you have to take it home with you and worry yourself sick? No, that's not healthy, and we don't want our leaders doing that. It's also, that's a sign of codependency, which is why it has a whole week, a whole hour on codependency. It's probably the most important one in the whole thing. We are talking about empowerment of your staff. I don't think I need to share any more about that. And respect and corporate responsibility. I think it speaks for itself. I think it's groundbreaking. I know that I'm biased, but I am so full of fire for this. So what it comes down to is whole people achieve more. And you, as leaders, can invest in things that make your team whole. You can. You should. And you could achieve so much. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Please do, if you have any questions, you can respond on here, or you can send me an email or a private message, because it won't be a surprise to you to know that I will talk about this for hours. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.